All right, man. Jake Paul fight. Jake Paul versus your boy, Tyron Woodley. Am I saying that right? Tyron Woodley. All right. I really like Tyron Woodley in the UFC. He's lost his last 3 fights?
Yeah.
Last 3 fights. Didn't he have to fight? So. Didn't he fight Curry Usman?
He lost his belt to Kamaru Usman, and then he lost to I think Covington and then Gilbert, or the other way around, but either way, he lost to those two after Usman.
So still, man, he's a beast. Like, looks like a beast, fights like a beast. Like, I felt like that one versus Usman. I watched that whole fight. I felt like he gave a great effort versus a legend, dude. Usman is going to be a legend.
Right.
Okay. And he's not in his prime anymore. And he's never been a straight up striker. That's not his strength. He is a hard hitter. That's fair to say, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's my age. He's 39 years old. And he's fought and came up as a wrestler or whatnot, but I mean, went through all the shit to get in the UFC, was the UFC welterweight champ, fighting absolute killers. You know what I mean? Through his 20s into his 30s, obviously. And you get old, you're not as good, but then your chin goes. You start getting knocked out. You kind of keep getting knocked out, especially. Well, I should say once you hit an age, Cowboys like that. I feel like Connor's getting to be like that. There's boxers that were badasses when we were growing up, and then that's how they went out. But it's just, I don't know, man.
This guy, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, this dude was the best of the 3 fighters.
I don't know who the hell this dude is.
I don't know who he is either.
I feel like I shouldn't even be talking about this because I have no clue who this dude is.
I refuse to learn who this dude is. I refuse to learn who he is. Okay? Like, I don't.
I mean, look at these little bullshit. Like, he keeps ducking down. And he's
like sitting down,
and he's like falling because he's trying to get so low and lean back. He doesn't have any.
Yeah,
I don't know,
but
man.
Still, you're gonna sit here and tell me that he looks better than Nate Robinson? No, that he doesn't look better. Come on, definitely looks better than Nate Robinson. Definitely looks better than fat body pillow Ben Askren. I mean,
and these are YouTube guys right here.
I think this is a YouTube guy. All right, don't age me by showing I don't know.
Can I just cut through all the bullshit real quick and tell you my?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to know: does this guy look like he has good enough striking skills to beat?
No, none of them. To me, and I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not. I'd be better breaking down football and then probably basketball, and then that's about it. You know what I mean? I love the USC. I watch every card every Saturday. Follow all the stuff, but I'm by no means like a fight expert, you know what I'm saying? But this shit is a money grab, bro. That's all it is. In the second he loses, what's his brother's name?
Logan
loses, the hype around the fights isn't there anymore. So it's either some inside bullshit or there's a reason why he's fighting A, non-fighters, or B, past their prime wrestlers that haven't won a fight in what they were pros at for however long. Like,
bro, if he leads with his head like that, he might get knocked out real quick.
But like what he's doing, what you're probably going to see in his highlights of his striking isn't boxing striking.
It's ground and pound.
You're not going to get Superman punches and kicking off the cage or kicking off the rope and shit like that for the lead punch, or that you might get that. You'll get some of that shit. But I mean, if he doesn't drop him, what's he going to do? Pick him up and slam him and ground and pound him?
No.
But that's what I mean. But also, who's he fight? Which one? Whatever it is.
Jake.
Paul. I'm just going to say the last name. He was on Pat McAfee last week, and they're talking about all this stuff, and he decided that he was going to take on boxing, like fighting. He was going to move on and do that. Right, like it was a thing. He'd always liked fighting. He was bored with doing the internet content and doing all this stuff, and so it's been like something like 3 or 4 years of him just training really hard with like legit people, and like even Rogan said that he would outbox him, that Paul would outbox Rogan, And I know Rogan's not a boxer.
Rogan's like
whatever,
52 years old.
I agree. I'm not disputing it. I'm not saying Rogan's wrong. Like again, Rogan has forgotten more about fighting than I know. I'm just saying that the big thing, like in the UFC, is like, well, these guys don't really peak until they're 30. Like, that's why they think Sean O'Malley is so dangerous. He's like 24 or 5 or something like that. What Poirier, he was doing his thing.
I like this
at the top of his game. But these guys are fighting from the time they're young, and whatever their main thing is before they start learning other martial arts, and get to that level. And you're telling me this kid trained for 3 or 4 years and he's just gonna go around smoking guys that made careers out of fighting. And granted, if you go strictly boxing, he trains with killers. He's rich, so he literally has to do nothing else except have a 3 or 4 year training camp, so to speak. Then I get it, whatever. But I mean, the bottom line, man, is it's all about the hype around the fights. You're telling me Floyd Mayweather, and I know this is his brother, pound for pound, arguably by most people, the best boxer of all time, couldn't just make light work of some dude who just started learning to box 3 years ago.
That shit looked to me, and okay, Rogan would say that I am dead wrong. I saw him talk about it and say that people that think that Mayweather held up Logan in that fight are just wrong. He goes, that's a normal clutch. That's a normal hold that they do. Nah, dude, to me, it looked like Logan got knocked completely unconscious and Mayweather held him up. So I
didn't see it. I'm talking completely out of my ass. What I'm talking about, though, to me,
as usual,
so let's say
he did make light. He could have made light work if he wanted to.
Let's say Michael Jordan. I decided however many years ago that I was going to train my ass off, do nothing else but train my ass off for 3 or 4 years to play Jordan one-on-one. And we just tied. He couldn't beat me, but I didn't beat him. We just tied. Get the fuck out of here, dude. And I've played since I was a little kid. I'm just saying I took a few years to just really grind at it. Like dudes in the league, however many years ago when they were, there's guys in their 20s now, however old this kid is, that couldn't beat Jordan now at damn near 60 one-on-one. And I understand fighting, basketball, blah, blah, blah.
Damn, son.
Where I'm coming from thinking about it is like, yeah, like that. Like if it gets into some dirty boxing, I mean, by far, he's the best fighter that he's faced.
Right.
But I just don't think it matters, man. I think it's all a setup. I think it's all the big show. That's why you got Snoop and them commentating.
I disagree.
They rely on the pay-per-views because if he goes in there and 10, 15 seconds into the fight, Tyron does one of these quick left jab, boom, and throws that right just straight down the middle, and Paul goes to sleep. How much hype and excitement is going to be around his next fight? That's not Tyron Woodley's problem. What are you talking about?
Jake Paul having interest in his next fight or Logan Paul having interest ain't Woodley's problem. He don't give a damn about those dudes. I don't know.
Or does he? Why is there so much money available for these guys to theoretically make more money on these exhibition fights than they did in the UFC?
Those two dudes get knocked out, and they have like 20 million followers.
Exactly, and once they get knocked out, that's over with.
Yeah,
their followers maybe will still buy the pay-per-views and do it.
They will.
But all these people, but they're not the ones that want to see them get knocked out. So if all these people that are buying these pay-per-views and it keeps gaining steam, the more they keep winning, are buying pay-per-views, and Woodley comes in the first round, 15 seconds in, throws that left jab, boom, night, it's over with.
Okay,
who's his next fight and how much excitement is around it?
Does he
have to go back to fighting an old, past his prime basketball player? Does he have to fight another YouTube guy? Are UFC guys out of the picture? Is he trying to get GSP out of retirement? Is he trying to get Bisping or some other guy who's been retired?
Conor, when he's healed, is probably the golden fight for him.
I mean,
Look,
maybe.
I know that whenever they're doing hypes for the pre-fight and stuff, they're doing interviews and stuff, dual interviews. I know that stuff is like damn near scripted, if not, right? So I'm not going to sit here and say that I really think everything they said. But dude, if you've been watching it at all, I do not believe that Woodley is that good of an actor. Like the way he's acting and the things I hear him say and his facial expressions, if he's that good of an actor, get him in Hollywood. Why is he boxing? He genuinely seems like he does not like Jake Paul, and he genuinely seems like he takes offense that people are acting like Jake Paul is a fighter. He really seems like it rubs him the wrong way. It makes him sick. It makes him upset, truly upset. I don't think he could be that good of an actor. I just don't. And if he is, hell, that earns my money alone. But from what I just watched in those two videos, dude, I see somebody who's good enough striker to knock Jake Paul the fuck out. But I think it's like
well, you were also watching him from 8 years ago.
But you swayed me on the whole Jordan 1v1.
It's been 4 or 5 years since he had the title. I mean, how long has Kamaru Usman had it? So like 4 years, I think.
Yeah.
So 4 or 5, I don't know exactly, but it's right around there.
As a betting man, you are a degenerate gambler. You've admitted to this several times. Who are you putting money on? And how much money would you feel comfortable?
I'm not going to bet it because I 100%. This isn't a tinfoil hat thing. This is 100% from a very, I shouldn't say very, from a somewhat savvy gambler over the years, fairly successful. That is the dumbest thing to bet on, because like we're talking about, you've got a guy with next to no experience who has not fought a boxer. The closest he came was fighting a wrestler that was past his prime and about 60 pounds overweight, who wasn't a striker and couldn't win a fight in the UFC because he couldn't strike or defend strikers. And now he's finally fighting a guy who has some very legit striking ability. But I mean, when's the last time he won a fight? How far past his prime is he? How good is his chin? How legit is the whole fight thing? How much of it is a setup and act, whatever else? And how good is he?
All right, fair. You're taking the coward's way out. Let's say this. Let's say that the fight was on the up and up, and they are truly both going to try to knock each other out. Then who would you pick?
In my mind, the guy who's been a world-class, pound-for-pound, elite fighter for
Jake Paul.
Over half of his life is going to beat the brakes off of the dude who's been fighting for 4 years. Or
Ben Askren wasn't going to ever do that, but he was a much higher level fighter.
He wasn't going to do what?
Beat the brakes off of Jake Paul?
No, I mean, if they would have had a wrestling match, he would have.
But you think Woodley's a good enough striker?
I think the Woodley that held the title in the UFC at the welterweight division for however many years it was, yes. The Woodley that got knocked out and TKO'd and looked like he didn't know where the hell he was at when fights were getting called against Gilbert and who's the white dude I just said a minute ago, Colby Covington and guys like that. I don't know if Paul has any kind of power at all, quasi what those guys had, and can get some clean shots on him, then no, like his chin's gone. You know what I mean? Like it's like I use Donald Cerrone. He fought a ton of fights and he's getting older, but I mean, that dude used to get into some battles. You know, I mean, you couldn't recognize his face. He blew his face up because he tried to blow his nose when it was broke and shit like that. He can't take those anymore. He gets knocked out. He gets TKO'd early. I mean, Conor has had won one fight in the last like 4 years or 3 years, whatever it is, and it was against Cerrone. You know what I'm saying? So it's like once these guys' chins go, when they're in their mid to upper 30s, sometimes younger, but especially at that age, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And it's also in my mind, and again, I'm not some fight expert by any stretch. It would be super hard for me to spend 10, 15 years in a world where it's almost all means necessary to win a fight, and then being told you can't do 85% of what you did throughout your whole career, especially these guys that are wrestlers. Like, I mean, you're fighting Nate Robinson. He's a third of his size. And I mean, maybe he was a scrapper back in his day.
No muscle memory, though, as far as boxing goes. As
but
far
he's
as
not, he's not a trained
and,
fighter.
Yeah.
Like, he hasn't put as much time in the gym boxing as. And that's the other thing. You got some of these guys like Askren was training with strikers and stuff like that. But it's like they're training within a camp. This dude trained for 3 or 4 years within. I don't know who that was. Didn't that look like Shane Mosley?
Yeah.
So, I mean.
Let us know in the chat.
For 4 years.
Let us know in the chat if you know if that's Mosley or not. Go ahead.
If you're training for 4 years, to me, that now we're changing things, right? That's a little bit different than whatever. But I don't know, man. It just.
I think I agree with you. It probably isn't a safe thing to bet because
it's
none of these fights really have been.
And it has less to do with him than it does his brother. When his brother went the distance and it was a draw with arguably the greatest pound-for-pound boxer of all time, not pound-for-pound boxer, of all time, he's in that conversation. And he didn't lose that fight. Come on, man.
So I agree with you. It's don't bet, but if you do bet and you really think someone's going to take it, it would be Woodley. If it was a real fight, and the fact that Woodley is an underdog, I'm gonna make money. You know what I mean? My $100 is gonna make me 160 or 165, whatever it's at. Yeah, 100%. If you lose, you lose. But I mean, you don't lay double your money. You don't lay $2,000 or $200 to win $100 on a kid who's been fighting for 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, and he's beating up guys who aren't boxers or fighters or strikers. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
When he's going against a guy who's the former welterweight champion of the UFC for multiple years.